Hello and welcome to the Trinity Fit Over 40 podcast with me, Rob Burkhead. Today's episode is an interview with Charlotte Hunter, menopause nutritionist with over a decade's experience working with women to feel their best around menopause. And Charlotte went through early menopause herself after having a hysterectomy at age 44, so she's really gone through it and understands it. Now, I wanted to invite Charlotte on as she's helped to develop a really exciting new supplement called New Mind Menopause Support. There's a lot of rubbish out there in the supplement industry with lots of people jumping on the menopause bandwagon, and to be honest, it really annoys me. However, Charlotte really knows her stuff, so today I wanted to quiz her not only about menopause nutrition, but also what supplements work and what don't, so you don't get caught out by it. We talk about what vitamins and minerals are typically missing around menopause, why cheap high street supplements don't work, as well as many of the really expensive ones, and what to look out for when choosing supplements to look and feel your best around menopause. It's a great episode, so without further ado, let's get straight into it. So Charlotte, first of all, welcome to the podcast.
Thanks, Rob.
So what I want to do, before we get into all the things that supplements can do to help people around menopause, how to pick the right one, what does work, what doesn't work, I want to rewind so people can find out a little bit more about you. So if we can get the kind of backstory, a little bit of a backstory about you, how did you actually get into this? I know you help women around menopause now, you help them with their nutrition. Like, where did this all start?
So I actually started out working in the museum industry, so quite different to what I do now. And I discovered nutritional therapy after really being quite poorly, after not looking after myself. So very, very stressed, not sleeping, working hard, playing hard, and living off Diet Coke and peanut M&Ms. Again, every time I say that, I sort of cringe a bit, but it just goes to show that, nutritions aren't perfect. Well, it certainly wasn't perfect back then. So after finding a nutritional therapist, I changed my diet. I started using supplements, made some lifestyle shifts, changed jobs. I did all kinds of stuff. And that really gave me a nudge to study nutrition. So I started a nutritional medicine degree. And shortly after qualifying, it was about 2010 by the time I qualified, I was working in a chiropractic clinic and really just working with anyone who walked through the door. So a lot of families, a lot of women. And as time went on, and I think my life changed as well, getting pregnant, having babies, dealing with toddlers, then going through menopause, all those things. I think your interest changes as well with your clients. And the main thing for me was when I went through my own menopause, I had a total hysterectomy when I was 44, which was 4 years ago now. And I think I was quite lucky because of what I knew about nutrition, health, the contacts that I had, a lot of doctors that I knew at the time. So I felt quite well prepared. I think anything really prepares you for it. And I was really quite aware that a lot of women don't have that, and they don't have that knowledge or that backup. So it really, I suppose, became a bit of a mission really to work with women in menopause.
Amazing. And I think I want to figure out then, how do you see, as someone who's gone through this yourself and helped loads of other people to kind of feel their best around menopause through nutrition, through supplementation, how do you see those two things kind of working together? Because I think a lot of people are really pro one thing or pro the other, but I imagine you kind of need to get both right in a lot of cases, a bit of supplementation here and there and nutrition. How do you see those two working together?
Yeah, I think so. I think the big thing is that all women come to menopause from a very different place. So, we have to remember that when you go through menopause, it doesn't just happen. It's not like this. It's not like being struck by lightning. It's like, oh, menopause. It builds up for a number of years or months. Again, that can vary. But we've all got our own unique, I suppose, hormone story where it begins at puberty and it sort of wiggles around a bit until you finally get to menopause. And it's all those things that happen between puberty and where you are now are the clues, I think, about your health status, your nutrition status, your lifestyle, exercise, all of that stuff. And I think no matter which direction you come from, really nailing your nutrition has got to be the biggest foundation, really. And it doesn't matter what you do, whether you use HRT or you don't, or you use, natural herbs, you work with a herbalist, or, whatever you do to manage your menopause, I don't think it matters. But getting your nutrition nailed and thinking about some foundational supplements as well is got to be the priority, I think. And, some women absolutely don't want to take HRT. They absolutely don't want to take supplements as well, or herbs. But I think really you have to have that open mind, because, you never know. It might just, really help you, really work for you.
And I think what we find is if you don't get the basis of the nutrition right, then everything else is not really going to work, because you're putting so many things in the body that are causing problems. So I do actually want to touch on the nutrition before we get to the supplements to kind of talk about what do you see are the main. You talked about eating Diet Coke and M&Ms. Obviously, that's going to make you feel great as you get older. But what are the kind of main things you see? I don't want to be negative. I'll say the problems people have in their diets, but the things that could be improved, perhaps, that you see for women. Again, everyone's unique, I know, but what are the kind of biggest, most common problems you see?
I honestly think it's more about how people eat rather than what they eat, which sounds probably a bit strange coming from a nutritionist who's probably, people think all I'm going to do is tell them to eat carrot sticks and hummus. But it's how people eat. And I think we're a culture of snackers. It's just constantly grazing, nibbling, and clients will come to me and say, but I eat a really healthy diet. I don't understand why I'm putting on weight. And you look at the diet and go, well, actually, yeah, the food isn't too bad, but breakfast might be a massive great bowl of porridge with honey, fruits, a few nuts on, and then an hour later they're having a coffee and a flapjack. It's a healthy flapjack, so it's got nuts and honey in. And then an hour later they're going, I don't know, it's somebody's birthday at work, so there are cakes everywhere, so you have a bit of cake. Then you have your lunch, and then after lunch you're absolutely exhausted, so you have another can of Diet Coke or a coffee, and then you get the munchies, and then on the way home you get hungry. You walk through the door, you have a glass of wine, and then you have a handful of kettle chips, and then you have your dinner. And I know I'm exaggerating a bit, but all of those foods individually, if you look at their nutritional profile, you look at their, macros, micros, everything, they're not too bad. But it's the fact that we're just constantly nibbling and grazing. So your blood sugar doesn't even get a chance to find its groove. And we need, I've said to clients 3 meals a day, try and stay away from snacking as much as you possibly can, unless, you're leaving the house at 5:30 and not getting home till 9. Obviously, you need to, adapt it for your needs. But ideally, we should have 3 meals a day. So we get 3 nice curves for our glucose and our insulin. And between meals, we've got the opportunity to, get ready for the next meal. Digestion's like a West End show, I always say. They do their matinee, then they've got to recover and get ready for the next performance. You can't just go back to back. And digestion is very much like a choreographed performance. Everything relies on, something else. It's almost like a domino effect of reactions. And it's very energy intensive. We need a lot of acids and enzymes and hormones, all those things to fuel our digestion. And if you're eating constantly and snacking constantly, well, it's just not going to work very well.
I'm smiling because I spend so much time trying to encourage people to eat 3 meals a day, which is like, it seems like it's so obvious when you're saying it. You're not telling me anything new, but so many people are not eating 3, what I would call proper meals. A balanced meal with protein in it, with lots of fiber in it. Yeah. It's quite basic, some of the fundamentals that are kind of being missed, and everyone's jumping straight to a supplement, or can I go and do this crazy workout routine, and missing the fundamentals. So you reckon timing is very important.
Massively.
And then I guess food choices within those meals as well.
I think as you go through perimenopause and menopause, you become less able to handle your sugars and carbs as well as you used to. So, when we eat something with glucose in or carbs, we need to release insulin, and then the insulin talks to our cells to either use that glucose as energy or to squirrel it away in our liver or muscles, or failing that, store it as fat. And as we go through menopause, perimenopause, our cells don't hear the signal, so they become a bit deaf to the insulin. And then insulin, I mean, it's storage hormone. It's just going to put all that weight around your tummy. And when you're stressed, that whole mechanism is even worse.
Yeah.
And I think, menopause is a time where women really are stressed, not just the symptoms of menopause, but all of the life stuff that happens around menopause. So, a lot of us are in the sandwich generation where we've got elderly parents and really young children. And, jobs, work pressures, financial pressures, life, pandemics, for example, it's all sort of happening at once. But it's sugar's a big one, carbohydrates. And I say to clients of mine, center your whole meal as your protein. So choose your protein and then build your plate around that. And, it doesn't have to be a massive amount, but, you need a decent portion. Say, a medium-sized chicken breast with 2 big handfuls of vegetables, some oil, and think about your carbs as a side dish, not the main event. So if you're going to have spaghetti bolognese, the spaghetti's like tiny little handful, and the rest is salad or steamed veggies and all your lovely, bolognese sauce all over it. I mean, it's lovely. You don't need the carbs.
I love courgette as well. I know it's a bit of I don't think it's a thing anymore. It's a big thing like 10 years ago. Everyone was having courgette and everything. But whenever I've tried to do a photo shoot or something, I've used that to bulk my meals out massively, because I think for me, a lot of people got used to eating these massive portions as well. Like we've got a much more American style diet now.
Yeah,
you find that, but people need filling up. So we always try to find creative ways to make that meal feel more filling.
Yeah, I love courgette. I forgot. I mean, that was like a massive thing, wasn't it?
Yeah, get the spiralizer.
Yeah. I might have to dust mine down and get it out this weekend.
I know where it is.
I think my family would be happy about getting courgette on Christmas Day, mind. I might have to leave it till January.
Maybe not Christmas Day. Yeah. Where does then, so obviously, I think, no, not obviously, but we've talked about today that ideal plate, turning around protein, carbs are not the main event, which I think is obviously is good, really useful advice for people. But even if you eat like this, are there sometimes bits that can be missing? So I'm trying to see where supplements fit in. Around menopause, do you often find people are still lacking in certain nutrients or vitamins?
You know what? I think it's a difficult one because, and it's not really a popular thing to say, but when you go through perimenopause and menopause, they're natural phases of aging. And I know that's, no one wants to hear that, but it's just a natural phase of our lives, and I think as we get older, as we're more stressed, we need to pay closer attention to those nutrients that we may be missing. If you're not eating that perfect diet, especially, are we really getting all the nutrients that we need? And I don't think it applies to any nutrient in particular, but I think overall, where our diets are perhaps deficient, just not eating well enough, or some of our food quality isn't as good as it should be, effects of farming. We can't all afford beautiful organic fruit and veggies. And I would say to people, buy the best you can afford. Veg boxes are great, but they tend to go seasonally, and sometimes I kind of get sick of eating beetroot or greens every box that arrives. So I think supplements just have the potential to fill in those gaps that I think it's just a natural part of our diets just not being as good as they should be, or the quality of our food not being as great as it should be. I mean, I think there are particular nutrients that we need at menopause. So choline, for example, is a really important one. So we need choline to support our liver. It's good for our brain health as well. And it's quite difficult to get in the diet, especially if you don't eat eggs or you don't eat many eggs. It's quite tricky to get hold of. So that's a good one, I think, in menopause in particular.
That's a really interesting one, because that's not, I think, one that you might find in your mainstream supplements, but people, you don't hear people talking about. I think we hear a lot about, I do anyway, again, I'm kind of in this same space as you, so maybe this is not everyone. And work with a lot of clients on the basics of like vitamin D in winter, or D3, magnesium often being kind of low related to stress. Do you see those kind of things as well?
Yeah, definitely. And I think a lot of nutrients like the B vitamins are really good for energy, metabolism, cardiovascular health. Actually, choline's another one for cardiovascular health. And I'm trying to think of other ones that I mean, vitamin D, I think, is just applies to everyone.
Yeah.
We live in the Northern Hemisphere, and it's tricky to get your vitamin D, especially if you've got problems maintaining those levels. Some people have got a genetic issue, not issue, it's probably the wrong word, SNP mutation. That sounds even worse. I can't think of a good word. Where then it's just not as easy for them to maintain healthy levels of vitamin D. So I think if you're going to splash out on a test, or your GP says, no, you've had your vitamin D tested far too many times, you can get them really, well, quite inexpensively, just to check those levels.
And obviously energy is a really critical thing around menopause. A lot of the women we work with struggle with energy levels, fatigue, brain fog. All these supplements sound like they can obviously complement those. There's a lot of cheap supplements I see in supermarkets, you know, in Tesco's or Aldi. They all have these multivitamins on the shelf. And I'm always wondering, like, I don't feel like for £5 that's going to do what it says on the tin. It says it has everything you can possibly need for your daily support or whatever. What are your thoughts on those kind of cheap supplements? And you can be totally honest with this.
Yeah, I mean, I think, I mean, they tend to have more fillers, more additives in them. They also tend to have the type of nutrient in a form that isn't as absorbable, or what we call bioavailable.
Yeah.
So, you know, it's better to go for something a bit more expensive. I think anything in the back of magazines where you can get 4 for the price of 3, or special deals, or buy 500 fish oils and you get another 500 free, you know, just run. don't, you know, it's not really worth it. And I mean, I get a lot of clients who come to me with carrier bags just full of supplements, you know, I'm taking this for this, I'm taking this, I'm taking this. And, you know, each one isn't that expensive, but by the time you add them all up, it's quite a lot of money. When really they'd be much better just buying something that had more potency, higher bioavailability, well researched, very targeted for what they want, rather than just almost, you know, cherry picking, or well, it's like going to pick a mix, isn't it? You know, like one of them, one of them, one of them. And you're not necessarily getting, you know, the right products for you.
And yeah, and a lot of our clients, the women we work with, are really busy. Like you said, they're in careers where they're rushed off their feet, and they're in the sandwich generation, caring for aging parents and children of, you know, whatever age. They tend to take quite a lot of work. And then they've also got to try and figure all this stuff out. It's pretty complicated, why I think New Mind, which I know you've helped to develop, is a great supplement, and our clients have seen great results with it. It's because it's everything in one thing, so you don't have to think about it, and you've also thought about the quality. So how would you say it's different, other than, for anyone listening, it's this, right? It's a daily sachet that you can take. It's got everything you need in one day. Like, that's obviously an amazing thing in itself, but how else is it different from what else is out there in terms of menopause?
So, I mean, it's interesting when you think about menopause supplements, because there are so many now available on the market. And as you can imagine, I'm always getting messages on social media going, can we send you one of our products to try? And, you know, they send them to me, or I see them online, you look at the ingredients, and it's not really clear what they're trying to do. It's just a menopause product. And you look in the back and go, there's only 3 or 4 things in here. I don't really get it. I don't know what they're trying to do. And I think you have that on the one end, or one end of the spectrum. And then on the other end of the spectrum, you've got what I call kitchen sink formulas, where it's literally got every possible ingredient that you could possibly link to menopause. But there's no potency. It's just lots and lots of things. And they have things like proprietary blend, which always kind of makes me a bit like twitchy, because I think, well, what does that actually mean? You're not telling us how much is in the blend. It's just a mixture of lots of stuff. So technically one ingredient could be 90% of the product and the rest is just little sprinkle. So I think New Mind is different because we developed it with quite clear goals, and I suppose I based it on me, but in the sense that a lot of my clients are in the same position as me, and most menopausal women or perimenopausal women are under some form of stress. One of the main symptoms of menopause, or most reported, is anxiety, cardiovascular health, and insulin and glucose metabolism. All of those things becomes much more apparent during menopause. And we wanted to build on New Mind's original formula, which was very much aimed at stress.
Yeah.
But just, make it more appropriate for menopause. So we've tried to look at the stress side of menopause. We've looked at looking at creating a multi, really. So it's got everything that you need. So B, vitamin C, A, K2, zinc, iodine, all those foundational ingredients, along with high dose magnesium. So we've got you covered in terms of your nutrition. We've also got something to help with stress. So ashwagandha, rhodiola, lavender, passion flower, chamomile, theanine, all very calming, relaxing, and supportive. And then we've got the menopause capsule within that. And this has got some really, really lovely ingredients. And I think what's interesting is that if you were to buy these ingredients separately, it would cost you, over £250. But we've managed to blend it in such a way that the levels are potent, but I think affordable. I mean, it does sound like an expensive supplement. I completely agree with that. But the amount of nutrition you're getting as part of that is astounding, really. But we were thinking, really, again, when we put it together, about women's hormones as a whole. And I think when you think about it scientifically, and you think about all of the pathways in the body, how we make hormones, how we metabolize them, how we clear them out of our bodies, all of that really complicated stuff. If anything is working too fast or too slow, so we're making too much of something or not making enough of something, generally speaking, it's related to blood sugar balance, which I've spoken about quite a bit now, inflammation, stress, and poor sleep. So if we can support those pillars, then you're working on the menopause in a very big picture way. So it's less about individual symptoms. So it's like, I've got that problem, I need to take this supplement. I've got that problem, I need this supplement. What we're trying to work on are those pillars, really, to improve your health as a whole in menopause. So, we're not working on symptoms. And I think sometimes it's quite a different concept for people to grasp, because they're normally about, I've got hot flushes, what can I take? I mean, if you take New Mind, hopefully it will help your hot flushes, because we're working on that bigger picture. And if you need anything else to support other things, you can do it alongside. So for some women, they absolutely don't want to take HRT. Many women who do use New Mind are on HRT. So we didn't want to include anything in the formula that would interact with HRT. I think there are a lot of products out there that people on HRT shouldn't be taking, but they're not told that. And so we've tried to make it a product that everyone can take. If you were going through menopause without HRT, then there are other options you can look at to take alongside New Mind. So maybe some isoflavones, or there are some really nice herbal products and maca products. But the research isn't great. I think some of the research around maca is really interesting. That's certainly one to look at. But I think the other ones, soy is pretty good. but some of the other ones, I mean, they're based on such small scale studies, like 30 women or 12 women, they're not really representative, and I'm not convinced by them.
Yeah, there's a lot of things that need more data, I guess, and more research before we can be
Yeah.
sure. So there's so many things. I was just writing a load of notes down there about the different things it can obviously help with: anxiety, cardiovascular health, stress, glucose metabolism, sleep. I think sleep's a good place to start. Like how can it help with sleep?
So I think with sleep, I mean, lifestyle is always going to, I think, trump whatever a supplement can do. But I think sleep routines will be very different for everyone. It's so unique.
A lot of people don't have one, is something we've found.
Yeah, yeah. Don't ask me either.
Eventually end up in bed, maybe at 1 a.m., which is good. So we have found that as well.
Yeah. There was actually something here on the news. I read it. I didn't read it properly though, but it was saying that even going to bed 1 hour later completely messes up your hormones.
Yeah.
But I think, I mean, in terms of supplements, it's about finding supplements that have a relaxing and calming effect. When we're not looking at supplements that have a sedative effect that are going to knock you out, or like a sleeping pill, because I mean that's not going to help you either. It's about finding nutrients that support the nervous system. So in New Mind, we have theanine, L-theanine, chamomile, lavender, really relaxing. And also we have magnesium glycinate, which is also, really good for, again, calming the nervous system. I think most people just don't have enough magnesium anyway.
And I'm often recommending, but now I didn't know about New Mind, obviously, and that there's all the other things that we often recommend separately, like you said as well. But it's depleted by stress, as far as I understand. Is that right?
Yeah, absolutely. And poor blood sugar control.
Okay, so that also.
Yeah. I mean that is really the big one, and there are lots of nutrients in New Mind to support blood sugar. So things like alpha lipoic acid, chromium as well. And I think taking these particular nutrients alongside a really good diet that's looking to reduce your sugars can make a big difference.
Definitely. If you're sleeping better, that will make a huge difference, right? If you're sleeping better and your blood sugar control is better, in laywoman's terms, whatever we want to call it, that's probably going to mean you're going to lose quite a lot more weight if that's your goal as well, and stay healthier.
Yeah. It's really interesting, because quite a lot of people have contacted us with New Mind about sort of the weight loss angle. And it was never ever designed to be, a weight loss aid or have anything to do with weight loss really. But you're absolutely right, because I think unofficially it's supporting stress, anxiety, sleep, inflammation. Of course, that's going to affect your weight, or in a good way, obviously. But I think as well, what you said about sleeping. I mean, sleeping really does fix everything.
Yeah.
I mean, it doesn't matter, what the problem is. If you can improve your sleep and sleep better, you're going to be better in so many different ways. Less brain fog, more energy, less. If you've got a lot of inflammation, aches and pains in joints, another menopause joy. If you're sleeping better, you're able to manage that as well. So I think it can really make a difference to, I think, you day-to-day energy and how you feel. And I just think if you feel better, you can take on anything really. I mean, I know I'm like after, lack of sleep, just it seems to derail everything.
Yeah, it's one of the first places we'll start with people is that sleep bit, because if you've got more energy, if your brain's functioning as you would like it to, and you're firing on all cylinders, then work goes better. You don't having to work late to make up for all of that. You're feeling better in yourself. You could be, like you said, the weight comes off more easily if you want to lose weight or manage your weight better. it's a kind of a vicious cycle in one direction, or it can be a positive spiral in the other direction. I guess that's just putting everything in a good place so that it's much easier to achieve those results, which is what I think a lot of people need when there's a lot of lack of hope. I hear from people around menopause, if you're feeling the opposite of all those things, so you're feeling stressed and anxious and overwhelmed, and nothing seems to shift away because you can't manage the glucose well, and you're not sleeping well, so your cravings are all over the place, and using food to deal with the stress. It's a pretty hard place to get out of. So I think it could also be a bit of a lifeline for a lot of people. If you solve some of those things, then you feel more like yourself. So I just want to wrap it up with saying, like, are there any other benefits then? So we've talked about the weight loss angle. Other like reports have you had from people using this supplement in terms of changes?
Yeah, I mean, funny, I put some on social media from a client of mine, and she's just said she's feeling a lot calmer, a lot clearer headed, but she said her skin was much, much better. I mean, again, that's not something that we advertise, on New Mind as such. But we've got some, nice ingredients there to support your skin. So things like the antioxidants like lutein and lycopene. I mean, obviously they've got other benefits, such as supporting cardiovascular health, eye health, cognitive health, but also skin. Also, you're filling in the gaps with those nutrients. So vitamin E, vitamin A, they're great for the skin as well. I think I just want to mention there are two really important ingredients in New Mind. The first one is coenzyme Q10, which is another really powerful antioxidant, important for energy and also cardiovascular health. But it's a secret weapon as well if you suffer from headaches or migraines in menopause. And CoQ10 on its own it's really quite an expensive supplement, but it's amazing. It's really, really, it's like our killer ingredient. That's maybe not the right word to use. The other really interesting one is saffron. So saffron is, I mean, it's anti-inflammatory. It's neuroprotective. It's great for mood, memory, and it's also got some great research around hot flushes as well. So it's interesting. But I think overall, if I think about the feedback I get, it's that sense of being more in control of how they feel, and a bit like what you said about sleep. It's just that feeling of being a bit calmer, a bit more in control, and feeling less fuzzy-headed as well.
And it's interesting you say that, because that's one of our missions as a company, is to help empower women to feel in control around menopause. And obviously, we don't work in supplements, but that's the thing we found that's lacking for most people, right? It's a time when most people feel like that control's gone. So anything you can do to get that back, it feels like your body's not on your side, right?
Yeah. And I think as well with menopause supplements, and I suppose I can talk about this as almost like a customer of New Mind, because obviously I take it myself. Actually, every female in my family, I think, takes it, whether menopause or not. I'm like, no, it's fine. You need it anyway. But actually, I mean, joking aside, most women, you don't have to actually be in menopause to use this product. Even if you feel like your hormones are out of balance, or you're out of, you're feeling stressed, there's nothing in here that means you couldn't take it, if you weren't, over 40, say. But I think I've completely forgotten what I was going to say now, because I totally went off on a bit of a tangent there. Yes, talking about as a consumer, but also as a practitioner working with other women. And I think it's the convenience of not having to think about loads of products. And I mean, I'm like a total supplement junkie, partly because I'm like, oh, shiny, let's have a look at that. And I end up with like loads and loads of jars, and I get loads of free stuff from people. And since taking New Mind, though, I've just got rid of everything else. I've just got this one little sachet that I take, and that's it. I don't need to be taking loads of products. And if I'm going out, I've always got a sachet in the car, or there's one in my bag, or I've got them on my desk here. Because if I forget to take it, it doesn't matter, because you can just, you've got the little sachet. And if you're traveling, it's really, really easy as well. So I think just from a convenience point of view, and I always say to people, look, if you don't take your supplements, they won't work.
Yeah.
So, it's great to have it in a really convenient format. And yeah, I just feel better when I take it. And I think it's more blood sugar for me and the fuzzy head, more so than those feelings of calm and sleep. And I think, everyone's going to have a slightly different angle on how it supports them.
Yeah.
It's brilliant though, because it really does fill that gap between, like I said, on the one end of the spectrum, you've got a couple of ingredients of product that's claiming to revolutionize your menopause, and then the other end where you've got 500 ingredients in a kitchen sink formula. It's like it's somewhere in the middle with clear goals, clear I suppose just clear rationale for why we put it together. We haven't just thought, let's put everything in there, with really clear goals around blood sugar, inflammation, stress, and sleep.
Yeah, I think it's a really exciting supplement, hence why I wanted to get you on to talk, because there's so much rubbish out there in this supplement industry and the fitness industry as a whole, but as supplements as well. And so many people are spending so much money on things that don't work. So it's nice to see something where the quality and it's an ethical product that's been thought about in the right way, rather than, like you said, how do we just sell something to people around menopause, instead of like, let's start from the problems and how do we address each of them in the best possible way, and then make it work and save, you save hundreds of pounds by getting it in this one formula. It's also convenient. Like, again, it's just the same ethos I think that I like to have of how do we make something work for people in the easiest possible way and the best possible way, rather than starting with how do we make this thing that makes loads of money and then let's figure out how to flog it to them. And it's not actually thinking of the person as like the focus. And obviously, because you've gone through it yourself, I'm sure that makes a big difference. So I'm going to have to wrap it up here. I want to have you on again to talk about nutrition. Okay. There's so many things to talk about on that as well. But I just want to say thank you so much for joining me.
Oh, you're welcome. Thanks very much for inviting me. It's been great.
Yeah, it's been amazing. Right, I'll stop the recording there. I've got to go because I've got another meeting. I think it's the last. We're closing tomorrow, so I've got 3 with clients now. But I think that was a good length anyway.
Excellent.
And really good for kind of representing what New Mind is.
Well, anything else you need, just give me a shout. No problem at all.
I'll let you know when it's going out. It'll be in the new year, but I'll probably share it with clients. I'm trying to figure out when makes the most sense. But yeah, we've got that covered. So we're going to try and get more using it and then sharing their experience. Yes. And we've got very strong communities. If someone starts recommending it, loads of people will get interested in trying to do it.
I think generally speaking, I would say give it 3 months, but most people feel better after about a month. They start to notice it, which is brilliant.
And we've just given, I don't know, Sam, we've given 5 tubs out to some. We did have different awards at the end of the year, so those people have got it now, and then try it, and then hopefully then share their experience in the group. I'll encourage them to do that. But yeah, I meant everything I was saying. Like it seems like a really cool supplement that's well thought out in so many ways. Yeah. So we'll keep trying to do what we can to promote that.
Yeah, thank you.
After Christmas, maybe we'll chat about Dutch testing and stuff again. Yay! Something we can do with that. I don't know exactly what yet. Like my initial thought was like get our team able to deliver it, but I'm not sure that's actually the best way, because they might want to learn it. Some of the guys definitely will want to do it, but that's going to take time. I don't want someone interpreting results who isn't confident in doing it.
Yeah.
I would love to learn it too, but I'm also juggling a lot of things, so it's probably not the best person to do it.
Yeah, I mean it is tricky, but I think once you've got it, you've got it. Yeah. But it just takes a bit of time to get your head around it, because I mean there's some parts of the test that are quite complicated as well. So get practice going, oh my god, I know you've told me this 10 times, but can you just explain it again? Yeah. Anyway, look, you better go.
Yeah. No, thank you very much for your time. Yes. Yeah, you too. And I'll speak to you.
Thanks for your time. Bye.
Bye. So thank you for tuning in today. I really don't recommend many supplements, as most of them are really quite rubbish and a waste of money and don't work. But New Mind is something that's been really well thought out and is really convenient to take, with everything you need in one small daily sachet that you can fit into your purse or handbag when traveling. Based on our clients' feedback, it really works to reduce feelings of anxiety and overwhelm, improve sleep, reduce headaches and migraines, and cope with stress better, as well as process sugar better, and all of that can help you to lose weight and feel your best around menopause. Now, I've hassled the team at New Mind to give us a special discount just for you as a listener, and we've come up trumps. So with the code Trinity20, all one word, you'll get 20% off a one-off purchase or 40% off a subscription. And this supplement already saves you £166 over buying all of those ingredients on their own in the right quantities. Now, you can put that code into action at newmindwellness.com, newmindwellness.com, and that code is Trinity20. I'd recommend giving it a go for a month if you're struggling with anything from anxiety to headaches to sleep or losing weight, because it could make all the difference for you, especially if you're busy and you can't always eat perfectly when on the go.